when I'm trying to explain it to someone, in Army, Malaysia, when you're doing this, like we did a flanking maneuver, but the grass is so high that you can't actually get through without like diving your whole body onto it to push the grass down. You stand up, you walk that body length, and you dive onto it again, and you just do that repetitively until you get through the swamp. So I see it as my job as beating the path for the first person cutting track is the hardest job. Then everybody else behind that widens the track and widens the path and makes it a lot easier for the next person and the next person and the next person.
Hey there, and welcome back to the Founders Unmasked. This is the show where Tom Moore speaks to entrepreneurs and pulls back the mask of who they really are, learning along the way what they believe in and learning more about their story and why they decided to become a founder. Today's interview is with Avon Collis. Avon is the founder of Relevate Consulting, a company helping business owners streamline and grow faster through automation and operational excellence. I learned 3 things from this interview with Avon. Firstly, that learning what not to do is often just as important, if not more important, than learning what to do. Through seeing and learning from the mistakes that we make and the mistakes of others, we can grow faster and more efficiently. The second thing that I learned from Avon is pull the pin and see what happens. Avon's a master of just getting on with it, of putting stuff into practice. You can see this in the content that he does and in everywhere that he goes. He's great at doing the hard stuff first, and it shows. The last thing that I learned is about Avon's infectious energy. And where does this infectious energy come from? Well, it comes from Avon leading by example. He's out there doing the things that he says he's going to do. And he's out there doing the things that he's teaching others to do. So please join me in watching Avon get unmasked today. Thank you.
When did you know that you were going to be an entrepreneur?
Well, I actually said I'd never do it because my dad was an entrepreneur, and I saw all the pain and frustration of that. Good times and bad times, but I always thought, no, I'll never do that. Then off in the army, then when I went to get out and just realized how shit it was to try and get anyone to recognize military skills. Army education themselves said, no, we can't qualify you on anything. And yet I ended up going to like some other organization, RPL, like 5 Cert 4s. And even then there was a whole stigma of, oh, you're in the army. You're probably just going to yell at everybody. We can't have you. So I applied for a lot of places, didn't really get anywhere. So I just went, screw it, I'm going to be in command of my own destiny. So we bought a franchise, did that for a little while, grew it. Then the arse fell out of the economy there. And then we got rid of that and moved to Brisbane and then started again because I'd automated the crap out of it. And sorry, I've overstepped the question there, but
I apologize.
I think I've answered a few things there.
Well, maybe to pull it apart a little bit, type of entrepreneur was your dad? What was his business?
Mechanic.
Right. What was was it in Queensland? Where was it based?
Melbourne.
Right.
Yeah.
What was it called?
Wolfsburg Automotive. So there was a Volkswagen specialist.
Yeah.
He was like a life member in Volkswagen Club and had like all these rare vehicles. Anyway, there was just growing up in the different factories and all that sort of stuff. Not the most glamorous of life, and there was lots of early mornings, late nights, hard work. So there was elements. I was never going to take over the family business because I didn't want to do all of that, and I thought I'd want to get out and go do other things and go to the army, and then from there, just took a different path. That's what I thought.
Right. We'll get to the army in a second, but do you mind if I ask you just a few more questions about it?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, did you have to work in the factory or the repair shop?
Yeah, I did work. I had to. So I was,
What did you do for work? What was that like?
I was stripping engines, and I built my first engine at like 13 or something. And
Wow.
then I don't know, I was always like moving heavy things around the place.
Mm.
Um, Probably early body damage and stuff, but I uh yeah, I was doing lots of moving of things around the house, and sometimes, like when it's family, you're like the free labor. So then there was like early mornings and late nights and in between times, and like driving to car shows, getting squashed in the back with 1,000,001 boxes of parts. So yeah, I didn't love it.
Right. What was maybe one thing you really liked about it though?
I suppose I'd gotten skills and things that other people had. I wouldn't say that I'm really a car nut at all. I've almost
Right.
completely forgotten all of that, but it's probably more like I have a mechanical aptitude because of it, and I think that's useful. But I can't say of anything I really particularly liked.
Do you think it's what's one way do you think that experience has helped your entrepreneurship? Has it given you an advantage? Building building engines at a really young age, man, is quite insane, to be honest with you. I wish I knew that about you the first time I met you, because it's actually quite um, revealing. Is maybe it's like there's something about you. It's like, what is it? There's some sort of mongrel sort of like energy in a good way, like a
Yeah, I think
dogged spirit is maybe a way of putting it. But what I was always, but that sort of story just sort of brings it all together, because it wasn't the military that gave you that energy.
no, I think maybe I don't know, like always a feeling of being second best. You got to work harder to get to the top.
Mm.
So can't say that I've had any massive wins of anything at any point. Maybe through a lot of little things that I've just done more. That's it. It's not like I've done better.
Right. I don't know about you having any massive wins. I'd kill to be running your business right now, to be frank with you. I think we'll get into it a bit later, but I think what you're sitting on and how you're moving in the market is like, fuck, I wish I had that energy. I wish I had that sort of foundational asset base to build the things that you can. So no, I don't know if that's true, but and I'm not going to let you sort of say that. I think you're sitting in the best, and you're sort of quickly becoming best in class at what you do. Um, if yeah, no, I won't say that. But that sort of what other than feeling that you're not number one, and it sort of gave you this huge drive. What else did working in that business teach you about being an entrepreneur now? Like, what was anything? Has anything made you a better entrepreneur or worse entrepreneur?
Uh, Maybe like this, I guess the sting of failure and not having much, and a fear
Right.
of not being near the bottom and having to work to not be there. So I guess I've always worked hard. Um, I would imagine that if you're what skills would I have learnt? I guess, like early on, just seeing conversations where, like if I think people bumble into the business after corporate life thinking it's all going to be fine and dandy, but there's lots of angry conversations, people not paying bills, stresses that you have to sort of bear with. And then maybe at times, just anticipating that, people are going to let you down. And then putting things in place, or just being ready for it and being okay with it, because that's just life.
Hmm. You know that at some point the buck ends with someone, right? So,
Exactly. Yeah. And it's usually me. Yeah.
right. And um, what was your dad like an entrepreneur, if you don't mind me asking?
Um, he's, I guess, he started as like a tradie, and then like didn't really do a lot of like formal business schooling. I did a little bit, tried to be ahead of the curve, but I think at that sort of 80s and 90s era, like he had a mobile phone early on, and then that was, quickly, first of all, it was a pager, and then that was quickly outpaced by a mobile, and then he tried some point of sale system, and then that didn't really get off the ground. So probably didn't adapt as fast as he probably could have or should have, or was because he was more of a mechanic and a Mr. Fix-It, not necessarily an IT guy, didn't really understand the structures and things moving behind the scenes. But I think in any case, at one point he had like 100 staff and a giant, workshop with all these different departments. But, the industry shifted to more build it once and run it into the ground kind of thing, sealed units that you don't open up ever again, everything with computers. Whereas once upon a time, you would machine the crankshaft again, you would machine the brake discs again, and had departments for those. You'd have, you'd rebuild everything at every layer. But you just don't do that anymore because we're in a throwaway economy, and there's just not enough kind of time in the day for that sort of thing.
Sounds like he was disrupted.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. And economic instability around the 80s of there was a major crash, and then that sort of took things backwards, and then people stopped buying things, and then it went back just sort of treading water after that.
Right. And if you have like one piece of business advice that you stick to, my father's was he would always take every call, no matter what. Give you 5 minutes. Best guy to cold call you'll ever meet. Did your father have any like particular business advice or one sort of tip that stuck with you?
I can't really think. I can't really think of anything that would be of sound advice. I think probably a lot of good ideas of what not to do.
Oh, that's good enough. Okay. So how did a kid go from building engines in Melbourne at 13 to becoming a rifleman in the Australian Army? That's a big shift.
Well, there was a few reasons to leave home, and that was one of them. And I wanted to have a bit more adventure and go somewhere else, and I didn't really want to sort of just stick around in one place and be boring. So I figured I'd always sort of had an interest in it, and I joined as soon as I can, 16 and 9 months, and 5 days before I was due to go, I broke my leg. That set me back 8 weeks. And
No.
just a fracture. It set me back 8 weeks, and then I had to keep my fitness somehow. And then I managed to pass the fitness test and get in, even though I did nothing for basically, or not much running for that time.
Kapuka wouldn't have been fun then. Was it shit?
No, I got through it. It was fine. All you need is that entry test. They'll work on you for the rest.
Right. What about the School of Cool? How'd you go there?
Yeah, I actually, annoyingly, the first time I did Kapuka, I went as a reservist, and I did the 45-day course. And then because I wanted to finish year 12. So I finished year 12,
Okay.
and then I went back and transferred to full time. And they said, "Oh no, we've changed the course, so you're going to have to do it all again." So I did Kapuka twice, and then I did the School of Cool, at which point I'd already done a fair bit of infantry reserves. So
that's pretty unlikely.
yeah. Well, you're good at it the second time around.
How did you feel when they told you had to do it the second time? What was your response?
Whatever. I just got to do it anyway. Just suck it up and get through it.
Right. This idea of just whatever, suck it up and get through it seems to keep coming through in everything that you do, by the way.
Yeah, you just, sometimes if you feel shit about something, you just got to do it anyway. So I think, I've had a few of those moments along the way. Having, I guess, to fire people, or, to do the hard things in business. Maybe there's the teaching, do the hard things first, or just get through it and move on.
Right. And that doing the hard things first, that is something that I'm really enamored by when I watch you do things. I saw you just build this YouTube Shorts cycle. And then I saw you build a YouTube channel. And then I saw you build a community platform. Was it the infantry that sort of reinforced that you should do the hard things first, or has that always just been a part of who you are?
Well, I'd say, you know, like, I'd say,
There's nothing worse than shaving in the morning outfield.
well, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever gone skydiving, but it's kind of the worst part is pushing you out of the plane. Once you get past that, that's the fun bit, you know, like once you get the bad shit over with, you know, like if you know that that's the only roadblock, or if that's the roadblock that's going to stop you from getting to something awesome, you may as well just do it as fast as possible, get it behind you and move on to the next thing. So if, yeah, that's probably my, I don't know if that was a military thing or if that was, but I'd say there's just lots of little things like that, is that, you know, pull the pin and see what's next.
Okay, I like that. I like to pull the pin and see what's next. I can see that in your content. It's fucking. I think that's why it works. And I don't mean that it's not planned. I
Well,
think it's very positive that way.
or when you're talking about the YouTube videos, is like, I know it's not going to be perfect. I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. Because some people, you know, I think I might have mentioned to you, we had a third business partner, waited for everything to be perfect, but nothing was actually getting done, like a roadblock on websites and various other issues. So that was my thing, was just, you know, throw spaghetti on the wall. Let's do the first version. You know, the first version's not going to be great. You know, someone's going to have a problem with it. But if there's nothing there to critique, then there's no feedback, then there's no way to improve. So you may as well just get the first thing out there and then see how that rolls, and then do the next thing and the next thing.
I like to pull. I like to pull the pin and see what happens next. I think that's, you know. Do you think that's your unfair advantage?
Possibly. Yeah, I'm ready to dive in and crack it open and see what happens. So I would say that's probably more so than most other people. Like generally, I find that if I find this, let's say I'm having a conversation with someone that we say, oh, we should do something, you know, we should do this in business or whatever. I say, yep, that's a good idea. A week later, I've done it, or maybe poorly, or in 3 different ways. I look back and they haven't even started.
Yeah.
So,
well, maybe that leads into what you're good at. So, I spent a bit of time with you talking about your company, and one of the things I think that you're starting to crack is the idea around helping people get software adopted. And it seems like, you know, the idea of pulling the pin and seeing what happens is how you're actually helping people get software adopted. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, how there's something very unique about how you're doing it that's working.
well, yeah, I think a lot of times, like if you think about major software projects, if they're spending $15 million on a SAP implementation or something, they've gone, you know, like government or whatever, they've gone to the one of the big four. They've got a big consultant. They've had lots of people draw up all these plans, and they've put all these things in place. But then, even though they've done all these planning and they've spent millions of dollars, quite often, like, yes, you kind of need that high level plan, but you need to be ready to adapt for change. What would happen if you started a 6 or 12 month project right at January 1st, 2020? You'd have 3 months in, you'd have COVID, and then you'd have complete change of the way that people do business, complete stoppage of people going anywhere to do anything, and the underlying business has changed. Things change so fast, and if you're going to draw up a 6 month or 12 month project plan, it's going to be more of a past tense thing by the time you've done. So we tend to do more the agile development. Yes, you'll set maybe a 12-month strategy roadmap, but it's not hard and fast. You'll change along the way based on what the environment presents itself. And what we were saying the other day around adoption is that people have questions. They want to know things. If you're not giving them information, then you're the world's worst person, because you're making them do something different. So you got to communicate times 1,000. I guess that's ignorance of knowledge. If you know what you're doing, you don't really see it as valuable, but
Well,
other people don't see it.
yeah, I think you do have it, but I'm not. I guess, are you so good at helping early adoption because you're such a good early adopter? Like you're a great early adopter. The idea of you just told me something. I'm just going to go. I'm just going to pull the pin and see what happens. Like, is it because you understand how they work?
Um, Possibly, maybe because I like to dig in and get my hands dirty, and then it's sort of like that. I guess lead by example concept is, like if you're the first one to do the thing, and then other people feel compelled to join you, or something like that. So I guess I liken it to. I think I might have given you this when I'm trying to explain it to someone. Um, in Army, Malaysia, when you're doing this, like we did a flanking maneuver, but the grass is so high that you can't actually get through without like diving your whole body onto it to push the grass down. You stand up, you walk that body length, and you dive onto it again, and you just do that repetitively until you get through the swamp. So I see it as my job as beating the path for the first person cutting track is the hardest job. Then everybody else behind that widens the track and widens the path and makes it a lot easier for the next person and the next person and the next person.
Okay. So,
It works in my head.
well, I think what you're saying is you know how to create a cut through,
Mm.
and then help others create cut through that are also early adopters. Is that right?
Yeah. I think normally, like, so if you think about bell curve of adoption, you've got
Mm-hmm.
those very early adopters, then you've got the early majority. So you really only need to find the early majority. If you're going to be the early adopter and maybe grab one or two other people by the ear and make sure that they're there to do it, then they can talk about it, share it, communicate it. Then you'll get the early majority. Then you'll get the late majority, or the main body, if you will. So you just
Yeah.
need to force that early start.
Uh, and, okay, that makes sense. And then one of the second parts you were saying you have to communicate a lot. What have you learned about communicating a lot to get it right? How do you
Don't be the
communicate
only
a lot
one.
without annoying anyone?
Don't be the only one spreading the message.
Huh.
Find a team of people that can also help do it and like kind of create a movement or create an environment where um like if you the saying is no one likes an empty restaurant. You walk past a restaurant, it's completely empty, you're not going in there. You walk past a restaurant, there's 5 or 10 people that look like they're enjoying themselves. It doesn't have to be packed. You go, that one looks better than that one, and so you'll go to the one that's got people in it. So you need to create that kind of feeling or that kind of moment when you walk into that place that there's other people doing it. So you should do it too. Like you can do that within an organization when you're communicating. You can have like a visible conversation. This is a visible conversation. If this is being promoted on YouTube or any other channel, it's a visible conversation that can be viewed externally. And by doing that, you're creating a moment in time or something for someone to view, follow, have an opinion on, comment on, question, etc.
Yeah, okay. And I guess it is you are saying something, really with a lot of confidence. So, and you're also saying help them spread, the same energy and message. How do
Mm.
you sort of ignite that fire? Like how are you doing that in a way that feels mm, not coercive or
Mm.
not corrupted? Like a very like how do you do that?
So when big software companies are doing implementations, they'll say you need to have an internal champion. But yeah, I would say that, but you also want to find like 5 or 10 of them because if it's just one person, they're going to get, seen out as the weirdo that's actually on the side of the consultant or the person who's outside of the company. But like one thing we always try to do is very early on get a few wow moments. And I've had, demoed something and had people stand up in their chair and shout, "This is awesome." Because it's going to save them a lot of pain and frustration. So if you can get those people and as many as you can in a small cluster, and then say, "Look, I need your help here. Let's work together on getting this rolled out into the wider organization." then you create them as champions, and it's got to be more than one. Can't just be me saying it. Can't just be one person in their company. You probably need like 4 or 5 or more. Then it's a movement.
And how do you start that conversation to activate a champion? How do you do it? Because I think this is the secret.
Well, if I go into an organization, ideally, if I've done some level of scoping, I'll go and meet the people. I walk the office. I ask for people to at the bottom, middle, top of the organization and say, introduce me to the coalface, introduce me to lower middle management, and then I want to talk to some people at the top. And then I get an outsider's view, and I document, what conversations, themes I've heard, and then I put that in a bit of a back brief to say, this is what the people are saying, all the way through the organization, because, the person at the top, they've got their objectives. They can't always see what the person at the front line can see. So if you can get their pain points and then frame the conversation to a way that addresses all of them, you will find people that are, raving fans of improvement. They're like, we really need this. I guess you could kind of go down the path of project management. They have the RACI model, responsible, aware, informed. I can't remember exactly what they are, consulted. But it's a way to find different people and what kind of messaging you need for each one to get it over the line.
Honestly, just to me, it's like how much of that is just your energy. Like you have this infectious energy. Does your infectious energy just drive the rapport? Because I've never seen you not energetic.
Well, yeah, I guess that's what happens when you like what you do. If I could do it for free every day, I would, but unfortunately, I need to feed myself.
Why would you do it for free? Why would you do it for free?
Well, if you do something you enjoy, I guess it's making people happy. When they, they see that their life's changed or improved because they've been able to.
Well, let's break this down a little bit though. Making people happy. It has to. What happens in the moment that you see the joy? Because you must see it when you first chat to them. Otherwise, you wouldn't. Your energy would just drain. So,
yeah,
what is it that you see?
Yeah, it's definitely that reflective back. So when you tell them, hey, I can help you do this and this and this, and they're like, oh wow, they're shocked, they're surprised, they're, I guess you feel good because you've helped someone see the light at the end of the tunnel of how they could do something or make life easier for them. And I know it's in a business context, and I guess I'm used to dealing usually with the business owner, and they're more personally invested. But you still see it with employees, where maybe they're passionate about what they do anyway, and you can show them, this solves a major pain that you've got in your business. So it's not, these are the corporate objectives of what we want to achieve. It's not just that, it's also, and this little thing will make your day easier. So management will push their stuff down, but what are we doing to listen at the bottom to go, I really hate the way I have to do this because it makes no sense. And just trying to address that through the cycle.
I think that's a good way of validating it if you were in a sales meeting. But I actually think, I actually see you out there doing it, pulling the pin, and you saying, fuck it, let's see what happens. So consistently that it makes me motivated that I can do something uncomfortable.
Well, if you do,
and I've been uncomfortable. Like I've been to the worst depths of uncomfortable that you can be in life, and we're both in uniform at similar sort of units, but and in entrepreneurship. But I'm sort of comfy at the moment, and watching you pull the pin, and say, "Fuck it," actually is what. It creates this huge safety. I don't know what it is. It's like I haven't seen it before. It creates this huge safety net around the things that I'm doing.
Well, I mean, in terms of I guess.
Like I didn't start interviewing, to be really clear, I didn't start interviewing people and putting it on, like having a virtual diary, which is what it is designed to be, until I saw you putting out your YouTube content. on the octopus.
Yeah.
Like that's a perfect example of what I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, yeah, well, I guess I don't know, lead by example or something. I try to
Is that what it is? I think it might be. I think that's actually how you get people, how you drive them to be so energetic. I actually really think it is.
okay. I mean, yeah, if I think about how I'm getting people to do things, you know how like when people sit in on like training webinars and they've got like um some video playing on repeat and it's putting them to sleep. When I try to train people on how to do things, they drive and I just use the annotation feature in Zoom and I circle around the buttons they've got to push. So when that, I guess it's more like you're empowering that other person to do that thing. So I'll always take the 5 minutes to show someone how to do something because, they'll feel like it's amazing. I showed someone. Like,
I don't know. I don't know if that's what it is. I feel like you don't just take 5 minutes. You fucking. I think that's underestimating your value. I think you really get heavily involved. Like you push your own. Like I don't want you to undersell yourself here. I'm just saying that you go and do it in the most intense way you could do it.
I do spend a lot of time trying to show people how to do things. Maybe that's how I get the excitement going when they're like, "Oh, I learned this new thing," and then they can apply that. Even like even if you start with something small, I show someone how to use a text expansion tool, or I show someone how to use do some editing or something on a video really quickly, or using AI to do something, and then by showing them how to do it and getting them to actually do it, that's when they get excited about it because otherwise it's me doing it constantly. And it's not something that can scale.
No, but I think the idea of driving so far ahead in a particular space around engagement can. And I think that you drive yourself all the way to the extreme level of how people can be engaged, and then all of the room behind it, people can then take safely.
I think, yeah, I think like you can say, here's a link, click on it and do the thing, but that no one's going to do that. So then you need to have several messages to say that click on the link and do the thing. But then even better would be have different messages on different channels at different times. So it might be SMS, it might be Messenger, it might be email. And then the next thing is grab a group of people and then do it together. And then once some few people know how easy it is to do the thing or the learning or the training or whatever it is, then they're going to roll through and do the main thing that you want them to do, or they'll at least be triggered to continue the effort because they've started. If the hardest part is starting, just do that as fast as possible. And then for me, getting 5 or 10 other people to also start, which will then demonstrate to other people that, oh, it's not that bad, or someone else, they did it, so I can do it. So maybe my unfair advantage is starting.
Yeah, I think it's pulling the pin and getting on. Like I just like I feel like I can do it because Avon did it. Like it,
Yeah.
and it, yeah. I just think it's why it's so genuine that your adoption model works because you sort of do it at a micro community level and you could really see it and it's sharp and it's pointed and there's nothing more exciting than seeing someone that knows how to move and how to engage people, especially in a world that's very disengaged and appears to be connected, but probably siloed more than ever. Okay, that's really exciting. So, yeah, the idea of, yeah, if everyone can do it, we can do it. So, the last question I've got is a really simple one. Do you think you've accepted that you're going to be an entrepreneur fully? Like this is who you are and where you need to be, and
A few years ago I wrote myself a check for my 40th birthday of
right.
$100 million. I'm not there yet.
How many years you got left?
1/100th away, and I have 3 years left.
Oh,
So the
we're getting
pressure is on.
close.
if I'm going to reach my goal, yes. So I think, you get to a certain point, it's that when when you lose sight of the shore, that's when you can make it to the other side. Or that's the best chance of making it to the other side is you have to lose sight of the shore. So it's almost no way back, only have to go forward. So burn the boats, that sort of thing. You may as well go forward. I mean, not from like a detrimental thing, but like I've made the choice. It's full time. And we did that when I was it back in 2018. I was running the business by myself. Not long after I caught up with my business partner, who's ex-tank regiment. We were actually in the army together 10 years ago in sort of like similar-ish region. And sort of reconnected 5 years later, and then built the business. And I'm gonna next month fly to India, and we'll be in our office together that we both built over there, and doing some filming and all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of upside, like you said. You think we're sitting on a rocket, and I would agree we are. We have a lot of the infrastructure in place to really push it, and that's why I'm going, hell for leather at this current time, because we can scale it and we can grow, and all we really have to do is market and sell to fill it up.
Okay. And if the first in, pulling the pin and seeing what happens, entrepreneur could talk to the 13-year-old that's building the car engine, what would be the one piece of entrepreneurial advice you give the 13-year-old from your position now?
Pull the pin sooner.
Well, I don't think of a better place to end the chat, mate. It's been brilliant chatting to you, and you're one of the few entrepreneurs that I see that's a real entrepreneur and actually motivates me to be an entrepreneur. So I really thank you for your work and what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right.